I'm Drew Blevins from Wolfpack Sports Television alongside Lauren Vilbert, who's this new women's basketball exhibit inside of Withers Hall. This is her brainchild. So, Lauren, let's get right to it. What was the inspiration for creating a women's basketball exhibit?
So I've been a long time just admirer of Coach Kay Yao and her just inspiring coaching. I've followed her legacy. She developed from the ground up the women's athletic program here, and I've myself play and watch the game, and so that I really wanted to highlight her work and also bring basketball to the history program.
So after you proposed this idea, what was the process of getting these artifacts and getting this exhibit set up?
So we worked with the Special Collections Library. We've also worked with the athletic department. And between the two, we were able to secure the artifacts in the exhibit. We have a pom-pom from Special Collections. We have 7-Up cans that Coach Kay Yao, it's written on the cans. We have an NC State jersey and some sneakers. And we have also the media guys, which are pretty fabulous. They kind of chronicle the team, and they kind of show the team dressed up into different sort of costumes.
People will walk by this exhibit on a daily basis all the way into early March, most likely. What's the impact of having this here in Withers Hall?
The impact, I would say, is just bringing awareness to women's sports. I think that we sometimes can neglect women's sports, and I think that we need to bring some team spirit and bring, and also to just remember Coach Yao. She was an amazing person, an inspirational leader, and also an amazing coach.
And lastly, you talk about honoring Coach Kay Yao and her legacy. What does it mean to have her sister be the guest of honor here today?
I was honored that Miss Debbie Yao was able to be with us today. She spoke wonderfully of. It was just inspirational to see her side of the game, and even talk about her experience as a player and a coach.
That's Lauren Vilbert, the mastermind behind the new North Carolina State women's basketball exhibit here in Withers Hall. Lauren, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'm Drew Blevins of Wolfpack Sports Television alongside Dr. David Zonderman of the North Carolina State Museum Studies Department. Dr. Zonderman, the women's basketball exhibit that has just gone up in Withers Hall, can you explain the inspiration for putting it in here, and such a beautiful exhibit it is?
Sure, and thank you guys for covering this. We really appreciate it. This came out of a graduate seminar in museum studies, and every student could propose an idea for an exhibit, and then they elect the one they want to do, and the one that won was the history of women's basketball at NC State.
So, all these lovely artifacts that you have displayed here in Withers Hall, what was the process of actually getting them, being able to display them right here?
The folks all across campus were fabulous. We got some stuff from Special Collections here in the University Library and also in the athletic department. They have amazingly wonderful stuff, and they open up their closets and their desk drawers and helped us find some great stuff.
What is the impact of having a women's basketball exhibit here in Withers Hall, and how is it going to impact students as they walk by it every day and see the importance of NC State women's basketball?
Well, it's timed really well because obviously we're starting to get into the ACC season, and students will be here now for finals, but when they come back over the Christmas holiday, it'll be on exhibit still probably through February, maybe even March. So they'll have several months to stop by and enjoy it as they're enjoying the basketball season as well.
Most certainly. That's Dr. David Zonderman from North Carolina State University on Wolfpack Sports TV.
Thank you, everybody. Many of you know me, but for those of you who don't, I'm David Zonderman, and I wear many hats here at State, but today I'm wearing my hat as the professor who teaches the Graduate Seminar in Museum Studies in our master's and new doctoral program. We're very excited, in public history here at State. And in that class, every year, the students each propose a potential exhibit for this wonderful case we have here, and then they elect the one they want to do. And this year they selected the one that Lauren Vilbert proposed on the history of women's basketball at NC State. So without any further ado, I want to introduce Lauren, and then she's going to introduce the fabulous team from the class, and then in a minute we'll introduce our special guest as well.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to Dr. Zonderman and to the Museum Studies class. I'm very excited about the exhibit. I think it turned out wonderful. Actually, the idea for the exhibit just came because I'm a fan of, I love basketball, and it's been an inspiration. Your sister's been an inspiration for basketball players. And I'm just really happy that we were able to do the exhibit. And thank you so much for being here. And welcome.
To introduce your team.
Oh,
Remember everyone's name?
yeah, so this is Kaylee. Would you like to come up? Kaylee Langling, and this Megan Brown. Megan, do you want to? Sorry. Abby and Ashley, Pam. Where? Oh. So Amanda, Abby, and Mary.
There are ringers from anthropology.
And Jimmy.
I think that we're missing
I think
Cheryl.
that's, and Cheryl.
She just had a baby, so she has a good excuse. Everybody right? We're not missing anybody? No one's okay? Well, we're going to keep this informal, but we are delighted today to have a special guest with us, and that is Debbie Yao, who is the athletic director here at NC State. And I just want to briefly thank her for coming and making the time, and also thank the athletic department for helping us to, you'll eventually, when the crowd thins out or disperses, you'll get access to some wonderful little snacks and food we have to make this a really nice exhibit reception. So we thank you for the generosity and support. And with that, we'll turn over to you for a few remarks.
Thank you. I want to thank you for inviting me, and I've already looked with Dr. Zonderman at several things in the exhibit. I thought the best thing I could do today for a few minutes is just share a little bit of historical information, since this is so much history of women's basketball. Back in the day, in the early 70s, when federal legislation was finally passed to prevent discrimination against women in any field, engineering, medicine, law, athletics. It's commonly known as Title IX, and it gets the most attention because of athletics for one reason or another. It's probably had as much or more impact on the opportunities for women in professional fields than in college athletics. But nonetheless, that's the way this has worked out. That's where the focus has been. At that time, I was playing basketball for Kay, my older sister at Elon, and Susan, my younger sister, was playing for Kay, which I wouldn't recommend. There were a number of family squabbles occasionally about who was substituting for whom and that kind of thing. But nonetheless, I graduated, and then Susan had a year of eligibility left, and Willis Casey decided that he wanted to hire Kay. I think Kay followed Peanut, I believe, Doak, I believe. And what you need to understand is back then when we played basketball, there was no such thing as like the ACC or the SEC. We were all in a state organization. If you were a member of the state organization and you played at that level, then you would play each other. So in that level, playing seriously were UNC, Chapel Hill, Elon, Wake Forest. But NC State was not in the group. We never played NC State. They were playing what was called then B basketball. And we knew they had a team, but we knew they had not made the commitment, that State had not made the commitment to allow women to play at the highest level, whatever that might have been back in the day. And then Willis hired Kay, made the commitment to spend more money to develop the infrastructure, which is not that different than anything else any of us ever does, academically or athletically, and that is if we have a vision of excellence, we already understand resources will be needed to develop and see that vision to fruition. So she was hired here. Susan had a year left in college and came with Kay for 1 year. Back in the day, women could transfer anywhere they wanted to and play immediately. There were no transfer rules. And so Susan was our first All-American at NC State in any women's sport, and that's how that transpired. She had that year left. He hired Kay, and they came together. And Susan has reminded me on occasion that she was our first All-American. We have a jersey honoring her in Reynolds. And Susan recently said to me, I know there's going to be a renovation of Reynolds soon. And when you do that renovation and you have new jerseys, could you do me a favor? The jersey says on the back of it, Yow. I said, yeah. And she said, well, most people think that's K. Could you put an S on there? So I said, yes, Susan, I will figure this out. We will get an S on your jersey so that people understand it isn't K, it's you. So Kay came here, and as everyone knows, was here for 34 years as our coach. Another interesting factoid about back in the day, she and I played against each other. In 1979-80, I was coaching for the University of Kentucky, and she, of course, was at State. Her team, I believe, was ranked number 3 in the nation at the time, and we were ranked number 14. And so the committee thought it would be fun to match the two of us. And, of course, I'm fine if we can play that game in Lexington, Kentucky, but because she was the higher seed, that was not to be. And so we came to Reynolds and played. We lost the game. We were up 7 at half. We were down 7 at the end of the game. I remember these things. This is what happens, you know. You never forget some things. My parents sat on my side the first half, and then on her side the second half, which is probably the reason that I lost. They should have just stayed where they were. But I wouldn't want to do that again, actually. I didn't find that to be a lot of fun. And then when I went to Maryland as athletic director and she was still here, and I was there for 16 years, we finally carved out a way to see each other that would be more fun and meaningful, and that is we would go to brunch together on the day of the game. We used to try to see each other after the game. One of us was not happy after the game. One of us had to be unhappy. We're not both going to win, so we just decided we would. And once we made that choice, everything smoothed out, and we didn't even try to see each other. We just would say after brunch, well, I'll talk to you next week or something like that. Another interesting factoid is when she was at Elon, although I did not do this at State because I had taken the Kentucky job, so we were far apart, I used to pick out her clothes. Kay did not like shopping. I did. So I would go to Belk's in Burlington and take 3 or 4 outfits, bring them home, lay them on the bed, and say, try these on, tell me which ones you like, you get to keep those, I'll take the others back. They're going to let me, they used to let you do things like that, strange as it sounds. Later in life, she learned to like to shop. And that worked out well since I was so far away. But she loved NC State. I think everybody who ever knew her, and Tom certainly knew her well, Dr. Stafford, she really did. She really did. And, you know, although it would be this January 24th will be the 6th year since she died, which is hard for me to believe it's been 6 years. But that makes sense because it's my 5th year home, and the serendipity of all this, that my president would retire at Maryland, whom I adored, but he retired. And I didn't know who my next boss would be, and State hired a new chancellor, and he wanted to meet me, and I'm home. Suddenly I get to come home. It's very odd, but in a wonderful kind of a way. Yes, it'd be 6 years, and she had a hard time toward the end. She just didn't want to give up. You know, she was a real fighter, and you have one of her quotes, when life kicks you, let it kick you forward. And I think that's one of the things that people associate with her is that fighting spirit, especially women who've gone through cancer, survivors of cancer, and people who've succumbed to it, as she finally did. But she did, toward the end, when she was in the hospital in Cary, my husband had suggested that I come and visit her, and I said, I don't know why now, because she'd been sick for so long. I don't know what's going to happen or when it's going to happen. He said, I know. I just have a feeling you should go see her. And when I was here, it was a day, it was spitting snow, and she had a very nice room in Cary in Wake Med, and that night we were to play UNC, at UNC. And she was so feeble by then, she really couldn't stay up very long. And so the long story short is we told her, if you sleep all day, if you do everything right, we're going to try to prop you up so you can watch, watch the game. And we did that. And long story short, again, NC State led for most of the game, but lost the lead late, and there was an overtime, and we lost. And she was very sad about that. And I couldn't think of anything to say to comfort her. So I just kind of blurted out, they play at Maryland in 2 weeks, and we'll beat them for you, for Maryland and for you. So after I got a smile out of her, so it was worth it to me. But when I went home and I realized what I had said, I felt I needed to at least alert the women's coach at Maryland to what I had said. And her name is Brenda Fries. And Brenda's won the national championship. She won it in 2006. And when I told her, I'll never forget her face, she said, "You said what?" She said, "They're ranked number 2 in the nation, Debbie. I don't know if we're going to be able to beat them." So as time passed by, those 2 weeks passed by, I was at ACC meetings on a Saturday, and I got the call that she passed away at about 10 till 7 in the morning. And we came here to deal with everything that all of us who've lost people know what that means. You're coming to deal with everything. Who does this, who does that. And Kay had actually prepared for her own funeral in a way that was stunning, including choosing the music and everything. But I had forgotten that promise I had made to her. However, the next day, that was on a Saturday morning when she passed, the next day happened to be the day that Maryland was going to play UNC. But I'm very busy thinking about these other arrangements. Someone's asked me, we need to add 2 more hymns to the service. And I'm, oh my goodness, I'm not sure what to do about that. Maybe I should ask Susan. And I got a text, and it was, I believe it was around 6. I think that game had been in the afternoon, but I had forgotten completely about it. And it was a text from Brenda Fries. And Maryland had upset UNC. And she said, "This one's for the Yowgirls." I just thought that was the sweetest thing. And I know that Kay knows that happened. So it's really, life is so strange in so many ways. And this, however, is not strange. This is wonderful. And thank you for honoring her and honoring everybody that's ever played the sport, honoring all women in athletics and anyone that's ever had to work their way up through the ranks, because it was considered back in the day so odd for a woman to be interested in athletics. I'll leave you on this note. From a family perspective, Kay was a library science major. She's not a PE major. She was a librarian. I know that sounds odd. I was an English major, so I taught high school English. And my brother, who went on a full football scholarship to Clemson, was an English major as well. Susan was the only one that had any real interest in physical education. I'm not sure why that is that way, and back then it seemed like an odd combination to be interested in an academic area and in athletics, but it is true. That's the way it is. So she would love the other aspects of this, the historical aspects as well. So I'm going to leave you on that note, and thank you again so much from the bottom of my heart for doing this. I really appreciate it.